Welcome to CSM Talk, the CSM podcast that focuses on two fundamental aspects of customer success: value to the customer and value to your organization. Today on Rule 40 Success, I'll be asking my guest to focus on a particular area of the Rule 40: new logo acquisition, upsell and expansion, churn or profitability, and give their point of view on how they would partner with customer success to drive aspects of the Rule 40 and how this delivers customer value. Okay, got it? Good. Let's CSM talk. Okay, welcome to today's CSM Talk Rule of 40 Success. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome Mickey Powell. I'll say no more. Mickey's going to introduce himself. Please, Mickey, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, thanks so much for having me. I'm currently the head of go-to-market, co-founder at UpdateAI. And Kevin and I actually met when I was running CS operations at Zora. I've been in customer success for 10 years, starting from a CSM, getting into leadership operations. And I'm really excited to be here at UpdateAI right now because we have built a tool for customer success managers. And I'm sure Kevin and I could spend a whole conversation just talking about how CSMs don't have a lot of tools to make them better, more efficient, more effective at their job. But that's exactly what UpdateAI is doing. So for anybody out there that's listening, if you're a CSM or run a CS team and you need more time and energy back in your day, give us a look, update.ai. And please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn as well, where you can see me posting a lot about ChatGPT and the intersection of AI and customer success. But thanks, Kevin, again for having me on.
Talk us through, chat in terms of go-to-market. The people we have on these podcasts, they typically come from two camps: either sales-led growth, and this was something we did pretty much at Zora, or product-led growth. So where does UpdateAI sit in terms of its go-to-market motion?
Yeah, so we struggled with this a lot early on. Were we going to be direct sales led? Were we going to be product led? One of the hesitancies we had about, for instance, being product led was that nobody has really done that in customer success. So what data, what historical precedence is there? And after a lot of wrangling back and forth, what we realized is that our product is best fit by being super specific to the customer success manager and being product led. So we right now are wholly focused on getting our product directly into the hands of CSMs without having to go through all the rigmarole of, convincing a central leadership to adopt a technology and get everybody to adopt it all at once. Now, over time, we actually think that this is going to turn into a hybrid approach. And we've already started to see that naturally occur, where we get into the hands of the CSMs, they love it, leadership gets winds of it, or they're told directly, and then they come and want to talk to us. And then we start a more traditional motion. But the advantage, of course, is that we already have CSMs using the product. And that provides a lot of, it just makes the conversation a lot easier on both sides of the table.
We're going to come back more into how the go-to-market model works. I have some questions I'd like to know about that. For the purposes of the podcast today, we're looking at the Rule of 40. So again, for those of you who have not tuned in before, Rule of 40, we look on the revenue side of new logo acquisition, new customers, upsell and expansion, mitigation of churn. And then on the other side, we look at profitability. And the idea is when you add the two, you come to 40% or above. So from the Rule of 40, which aspect do you want us to focus on today, Mickey?
Yeah, we're going to be all about acquisition right now. And yeah, so, don't get me wrong. I would love to have UpdateAI be a wildly profitable company before long, but we're younger and we're really fortunate in that this is a big change in the way CSMs do work, UpdateAI. And so part of that is we need to acquire as much market share as possible and educate and convince people. So that's going to lead to growth. And then we'll have to obviously continuously focus on profitability as the company matures.
Okay, so this brings me through. This is great. This brings me through to a very interesting point. I was listening to a podcast at the weekend by a venture capitalist in EMEA called Ox VC. And they were talking about, one of the leading partners there was talking about some of the things they look for in early stage companies, so seed to sort of B or C, and then onwards. And the point they wanted to look at was, for like once 5 million companies, they want to look at investing there. It is about product market fit. 5 million and above, it's what they call go-to-market fit. So I think if we look at the area of product market fit, what are some of the things you were doing and concentrating on in terms of what your ICP looks like, what traction you might be getting with that, and also maybe if you can share with me some of the things your investors may be talking to you about, or people who are looking to invest, you're talking about, going, well, I like the idea, but what evidence have you got that it's taking off?
Yeah, that's a great one. So obviously, we look at top line numbers of just how many people are signing up, but that doesn't tell you everything, because that's relative. And obviously we always want more and more and more and more. So what are some other proxies? This is an area we do want to get better at. And there's other things we know we can measure. It's just a prioritization. But the things we have found that are very strong signals that we have product market fit. Number one is we have a very short onboarding. So there's like a technical as well as a little bit of an educational onboarding. And we look at what percentage of users make it through that. Now, we do, of course, over time want to look at how fast they make it through, all that good stuff. But right now, we're just looking at, hey, if somebody signs up, if 100 people sign up, what percentage are going to make it through that onboarding? That's a really critical thing for us right now, because if they're not making it through onboarding, then we have to say, is it because it's, there's education problems, there's technical problems, they don't see the value? What are all of those critical aspects? And we have optimized that over time to drive up that number. The second thing we look at is, because we're a PLG model, we can get it directly into the hands of a CSM. If we do that at a company, how many more people at that company, if any, end up using our product? And what we've seen on average is that when one person completes onboarding, they usually lead to 2 more people. So that's a strong signal for us that without us doing really anything to like encourage and gamify, like all the tactics that we will want to deploy over time, they are talking about it. They are telling their peers, hey, I got this new thing. It's really great. You should try it as well. That's a strong signal for us that there's product market fit. Because, just like you and I, Kevin, if we like something, we're going to talk about it. We're going to tell our friends about it. So we're seeing that happen, which is really great.
The 2 things you're looking at, just to recap, is firstly, the onboarding step. So there is, and as onboarding as a like conversion, I get 100 people signing up, how much are making it through to using it.
Yep.
And then you're looking at those people who make it through, of those people who make it through, how many new signups you get off the back of that, or what's the, how are you looking at the multiplier effect? What are you tracking there?
Yeah, so we're doing kind of a manual analysis of that. So let me give you kind of an example. Let's say, what's a good company, like Mixpanel. Mixpanel is a great company. Let's say we've never had a CSM from Mixpanel use our product before. And then somebody from Mixpanel signs up, which we see, right? We see their email, we enrich the data, so we see their title. So I know, John Smith, customer success manager at Mixpanel, signs up, and he's the first one. So I hate to be morbid, but like, he's the first infected of a group, right? What we're looking at is John Smith, he makes it through onboarding. And then a day later, I see Mary from Mixpanel, also a customer success manager, signs up. And then later on that same day, I see Barbara, also a customer success manager from Mixpanel, sign up. So we're seeing, we get into that one patient 0, and then we see people around them starting to use it.
There's a straightforward proliferation through a domain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you've got onboarding, you've got onboarding of like how many people make it through, how that grows once people are in there. What about I mean, yes, there is acquisition. Is there anything you're doing on maybe like starting to think about the retention side? Like you get, what you might have is one person makes it through from mixed panel, then I see another 5, then I see another 7. Oh, then I see another, then it drops down and that might drop off. What are there anything has been looked at or thought about on the retention side?
Yeah. So, it's funny coming from customer success, I think about this a lot, and we're actually, because of the stage of our business, I'm not able to give as much attention to that as possible, which kind of drives me crazy because I'm like, there's so much we could be doing there. But here's a couple of things that we're doing right now to try to drive retention. Number one, we're consistently optimizing and really focusing on the CSM. How do I make their lives easier? How do I make this product easier so that there's no obstacles there? The second is when we start to see critical mass, then I start to proactively reach out, offering assistance. And we have we have emails and stuff, like automated stuff to say, hey, like, here's what you need to know at this step. We offer up a one-on-one call for every single person if they want it. And that goes to either myself or our CEO and founder. So like everybody, if they want a personal touch. And then the third thing is once we start to get critical mass, I will reach out to leaders, especially if I see that the leaders have signed up, because that usually means there's going to be security questions. So we use OpenAI's API in our product. These are phone calls that are getting recorded. So InfoSec questions are very common. And we've got all the documentation. We're happy to share. We're almost done with our SOC 2. So I will kind of start to proactively be like, hey, if you want training, if you have questions, here's security documentation, just anticipating the common questions that are going to come up. And then lastly, if we start to establish a real relationship with that company, let's say we have a company using us right now. They've got over 30 CSMs. So I've gone to just like, hey, senior director, here's my cell phone number. If you need something, text me. I can do that right now at this stage. But what I'm actually doing for a little bit more of an intermediary is we're partnering with a company called Fina that allows you to manage shared Slack channels, almost similarly to a ticketing system. So we're going to start to set up these shared channels so that, we go from like individual users, which is hard to support at scale, to teams, and then putting them directly in Slack so that we don't have to rely on email threads and, support tickets getting submitted to some form on some website somewhere. And it's really going to be kind of like a swarm mentality. We're a small company, so it's going to be all hands on deck probably for the foreseeable future.
So you're going to be, just to recap, you're looking at the different stages. So, people sign up and onboard. You then see within the people who are signing up, how many people that's spreading out to. There's then aspects of helping almost people through the PLG funnel, as it were, as I might want to call it, right? How do we stop them dropping off? Well, there may be interventions that we need, which are, I notice you've been logged in, that's great. Haven't seen you do anything for 2 days. Is there something we could be doing to help you out? Here's some stuff we could help you with. So there is this almost like structured funnel towards full adoption that you're monitoring, you're looking at, you're feeling and touching it for yourself because you're doing it manually now, that you can then programatize with having people, manage it, right?
Yeah.
So that brings me on to my next kind of question, which is for a PLG type company, for the stage of growth you're at, what is the profile of CSM you would probably be looking at, in that space, in this level of growth for the next sort of 2 years or so?
Yeah, it's actually very specific. We're looking at CSMs that work for probably a Series A through Series C or D company in the B2B SaaS space in the United States. That's not to say that we won't work with others, but like, for instance, GDPR, we haven't really approached GDPR yet. So for companies that are based in Europe or do a lot of business in Europe, we've kind of said, hey, like, we totally want to work with you, but we understand what's important to you. So, our focus is over here. The other reason why we're focused on Series A through D, B2B SaaS in the US is we have designed our product in a certain way. We leverage Zoom. They're an investor of ours, and market share for Zoom with those companies is like 80%. So, it doesn't really make sense for us to go after big public companies, because then they're probably going to use Microsoft Teams a lot more. We are going to introduce technology to deal and address like Google Meets and Microsoft Teams and all these things. But we're focused there. And then the kind of add-on benefit to that is it allows us to be more focused on our messaging. Because, Kevin, you've worked for big public companies. A big public company CSM that's one of 40, 50, 80, 100 CSMs has very different problems than a CSM that's, one of 4 on a team. So, I have had experience on both ends of those spectrums. And since I'm running the go-to-market, I can be very, very specific in my messaging towards those CSMs to be like, hey, I know your problems. I've experienced them. Here's something I can do to alleviate those particular pains. And that has really helped in our go-to-market. It's really helped with our product vision and how we're designing. And honestly, like, the simplification just makes my job easier.
When you say go to market, what does it look like in terms of actually acquiring the customers? So what are the channels you use?
Yeah. So that has been a fascinating problem, again, because nobody has really done this with CSMs. LinkedIn by far has been our best channel. Now, it poses some problems because it's harder to attribute, because it's like, hey, I'm posting content, I'm doing webinars, and all of these things. And even though it's hard to attribute, that is definitely where we're seeing the most growth and engagement, and that's where people are. So that's channel number 1. Channel number 2 would be our cold outbound. So, we do cold outbound email, and we're still optimizing a lot. And again, like, this is not an area I'm an expert. I actually chat with experts a lot, former colleagues and people, and ask them for their advice and guidance and try to do as much learning. I also leverage ChatGPT a lot to give me guidance on what I should be doing, how I should be doing it, where I should be doing. I'm also not a great copywriter, so I've really leaned on ChatGPT to help me, and it's actually helped me get better at my copywriting. So those are the big 2 channels that we're focusing on right now. And then a third, which is just smaller and harder to scale, is like event-based, like webinars, in-person, workshops with teams and things like that, which is fun, but it's, it's an exact trade-off time for, like time, my time for, getting in front of folks. Now, I do want to say the interesting thing about the cold email that I'm starting to see play out is CSMs don't like to be sold to. And I don't think anybody likes to be sold to, but I think there's something natural, a natural tendency of CSMs that they, particularly don't like the hard sell. So we've changed up our cold strategy to not be a hard sell. Like, come sign up for us. We're going to solve your problems. Instead, we're going with more of like, here's all of the things that we've come up with, like education, like how to get better, how to use all the things out there, especially ChatGPT, and giving that all away. And I just started running some tests on this. We're seeing, 2 to 3 to 5x better click-through rates on the content we're sending. So I'm really excited to like share the educational content that we've created, and it's also getting better exposure.
Final question for you is really around, there's 2 areas which seem to be of great interest to people at the moment. One is PLG. It's everybody's talking about it. You're seeing things like Asana and Pipedrive and people like that all taking off with it. Monday.com. And the other one is AI. So what would be your three tips, if it were, for CSMs out there who are watching this going, AI seems like a really good space to get into. What are the three tips you'd give them in trying to sort of, transfer over from where they're into AI?
Yeah, so tip number one is go learn from experts that are translating it effectively and really start to invest time in understanding what is AI and what's the difference between maybe more traditional AI, which is what we're used to up until this point, and then large language models like ChatGPT, Bard, Anthropic's Claude, because they're still all based on statistics, at their core, but there is some fundamental differences. And starting to learn that and starting to understand it is key number one, because the next thing is ChatGPT, these large language models, they are so broad that they are going to touch every industry. So you need to understand that so you can start to anticipate how things are changing, which leads me to my third point. Whether you're looking for a job, have a job, like your job, hate your job, this is a chance for you to rethink how you work, what you do, and what you don't want to do. That AI might be better served, whether it's 100% of the time or 50% of the time, to do it with you or for you. It's like, I cannot overstate, like, every single, whether it's Goldman Sachs or, Bureau of Labor and Statistics, everybody's saying this is going to have a massive impact. So start educating yourself, start thinking about what these technologies are versus what we're used to in the past. And third is start thinking about the impact it's going to have on you, your work, your industry, what you like, what you don't like, because it is going to affect it. And if you're not thinking about it, you're going to end up on your ass trying to figure out, okay, how do I deal with this?
And are there any LinkedIn groups or that might be of interest to people who are?
Yeah, yeah, there is. So
that's your in. Go on.
Yeah, that's my in. Try not to be too self-promoting. So we do have a LinkedIn group, ChatGPT for Customer Success, where I do try to bring and open the discussion for customer success professionals on trends, thoughts, my own musings, what other people are talking about. You can also download a free ebook that I wrote, 70 pages, as a really good primer on ChatGPT for customer success. If you go to chatgpt.update.ai. And in that, I also reference some of the experts and amazing people writing and teaching the rest of us about this stuff, people I have learned from, whether it's data scientists or professors of business at Wharton. There is a lot of garbage out there, unfortunately. I try my best to not put out garbage. Here's another list of 1,000 prompts you can use. Like, nobody needs that. What they do need is the basics and the foundations, as well as, like, how is this going to change my job and my role and my career and my life? So, the resources I put out are, I think, pretty good. And it also points you to even more fantastic resources when you're ready to go deeper.
Yeah, I've joined the ChatGPT for customer success group, and it's a very it's good discussion. There's good things that are prompted, and lots of people put their opinions in there and thoughts about it. Mickey, it's been great to speak to you. I'm watching very closely to see how you. I really like the way that you have a very sharp and precise ICP. There's like no wavering from it. There's no, well,
Nope.
we'll do this vertical or that. You're targeting one persona and that's it. Yeah, I'll be watching with great interest your progress. But thank you very much for joining us on CSM Talk.
Thank you, Kevin. Glad to be here.